What's going on, guys? Welcome into another edition of the Male Mind Podcast. We're so excited. Today we are introducing a new segment to our show. It's going to be a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
This is something that we talked about early on.
Yes.
About just basically going back and forth with each other's tweets. So you guys have seen those segments like mean tweets,
Yeah.
or if you watch like Hot Ones, they do
Hot
like
Ones.
like explain that Graham. So it's gonna be kind of like that. I have picked a couple of Louis' tweets. He's picked some of my tweets. So we're gonna have a conversation. Just see, hey, when you tweeted that, what were you thinking? Expound on that a little bit.
Right.
Tell us a little bit more. If it's like a little bit bullshit or like a lot, like we're gonna get all into that.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure out what was going on at that time. But remember, you guys, these are all based on mental health, right? What we're going through in life, social media. A lot of our posts are surrounded by what we do for, obviously, for work, for a living. The expansion of our social media has been great for both of us, I'd say, in the realm of our businesses. Which is why I love doing this, so I can kind of shit talk on Tony and kind of talk back to me. But that's the idea. And again, if you guys follow me or Tony on social media, we're always giving you guys something new, something to think about. I love waking up in the morning every morning. Usually with my post, actually, I something that I read, something that I saw on the way to work, and I always try to, you know, consolidate all these ideas and obviously make a motivational post. I've been doing motivational posts every morning for like 7 years.
For a
now.
while, yeah.
It's pretty crazy. And people love them. Actually, I get people like, hey man, like, what's today's motivation sometimes in the morning? Because it helps them.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that's super cool.
And that's the idea with these tweets. Like, it's just because when you have to reduce a message to 180 characters or whatever
Right.
it is, sometimes we lack context. So the
Yes.
idea is to expand and go a little bit deeper
And
on some of
180
these
characters.
tweets, 180 characters, right? So do you want to go first or should I go first?
I'll go first.
All right, go for it.
All right. So January 25th, Tony said, don't quit social media. Quit the need to be validated. And I love that one.
I remember that day.
Was
So
it
all of
about
these
me?
tweets, no, it wasn't. But all of these tweets always, it comes from somewhere, right?
Right.
Either you had a conversation or you saw something. And so I was, someone that I was following on social media was saying that they couldn't handle it anymore. Like they didn't know what else to post. And they're like, whenever I post something, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it's just so draining and so tiring. And it wasn't the first time that this person had talked about something like this, but that, for example, they would complain a lot about the algorithm, about how they weren't getting enough views and they weren't getting enough shares. And so they were just so
Soaked in
anxious. Yes, about, man, this isn't working and I have to be studying new algorithms. So I'm just going to quit.
Right.
I'm just going to stop doing it because I can't just keep up with it or
Can't
whatever it
control
is.
it.
Yeah. So they were mentioning that they thought that they were shadow banned and that people weren't seeing their posts. Like, but so much anxiety
Right. Was around that.
people aren't seeing my stuff.
Right.
And so she mentioned that she was just going to quit. She's like, I'm out, I'm done. And so I had that thought and I tweeted that because in a situation like that, you feel like it's not working because you're not receiving the
numbers, the
validation.
likes.
Yes, exactly. So when you put a motivational quote, for example, in the morning, to a lot of people, it has no value if you don't get something back.
Right.
So if somebody doesn't say, hey, I love this, and you don't feel that, going back to what we talked about last time about dopamine, if
Right.
you don't feel that back, then they're like, then I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Because
I'm
it's
not enough. It's not good
because it's
enough.
not giving me what I want. So it's like,
Right.
don't quit social media. Use social media for what it was created for,
Right.
which is to connect,
Right.
but have it in the proper context. Don't, we have to get outside of this need to constantly be validated by people that don't even know us, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it can become such an obsession of I need to be seen and
And
validated
heard,
and valued.
and looked at.
And when we don't get it, we're like, I'm out because
Yeah.
I'm not, right?
I love that. I love
What are your
that.
thoughts on that?
So out of that, and then I'm a huge on social media. I love social media for what it's given us, for what it gives people, but I do believe that social media can be used wrongly, right? So in this type of setting with this quote is, and I say it all the time, people have a facade with social media. People hide social media. People replace their life, their reality with social media because they want to portray something different, right? So again, if they post a really cool picture, in Hawaii or with a car or whatever, mentally, we're already like robotically taught to, oh, I'm gonna get 1,000 likes. I'm gonna get this. And which is fine, but do it for you.
Well, I don't think it's fine at all because you start to measure your worth by
By a
likes and
picture.
comments and
Right, but I'm
shares.
saying do it for you. Post a picture. Be happy with what you
Oh,
have,
sure,
not
yes.
because what other people are gonna give you or say or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And I think social media can be used for good. Um, 95% of my social media is for the service of others, and I've consistently
It
made that
should be.
happen.
Yes, it
Or it
should be.
should be,
Yes.
because you can make so much money on social media now and run a business, and you can do so much with that for good. But also, again, when social media, well, Instagram started what, 2014, 2015.
Something like that.
I was competing. I was my shirt was off all the time. And if you guys go through my actual feed,
There's very little clothes involved.
yeah, it was a lot of nudity.
Hey, but if I look like that, bro, it'd be worse. It'd be worse.
But what I'm saying is, over the years, I've realized, and you can see my personality
Yeah, sure.
change
Of course.
through bodybuilding and through wanting to show off my work, my body. Now I'm showing off my work, my ability to help other people. Also, it's been 8 years now,
Yeah.
9 years. So the growth of that was coming from me trying to feel validated. And I can say that 100%. I wanted to be validated because I used to be fat, too shredded, and looking good. I was seeking that. But over the years, I realized I'm not getting anything from people saying that I look good. I get more by posting a quote or posting a client losing 50 pounds because that creates more for me.
Because it's also dangerous,
Yeah.
right? I find it dangerous because if you are obsessed with getting that validation, let's use that example. You put a photo
Right.
at a bodybuilding show, right? And you're expecting the praise to come back.
Oh my God, you look so good.
But then all of a sudden, but then what if you get the one comment that's like, yeah, no wonder you lost. Or someone talking trash, right? Or someone be like,
Well, usually
once
it's,
you start to
what
get
are you
negativity,
taking?
right?
Oh yeah, you got that because of steroids.
And that can be so harmful.
Well, I did.
That can, you did. But the point is that can be so harmful
Yeah.
because you want the positivity, but when the negativity comes, that hit is so violent.
It is violent.
And so I think it's just a matter of contextualizing social media properly.
Right.
Use it for what it's for, but don't hang your self-esteem. Don't hang your self-love on the number of followers or
followers.
likes or comments.
That's so true,
It's
man.
it's not worth it, guys. So if you're saying, hey, I'm leaving social media because it's not giving me the validation I seek, you're looking in the wrong place. That's not the source. That's not where you should be seeking that in the first place. So instead of quitting social media, quit this need to receive external validation
Exactly.
that really does nothing for you in the long run.
And that's what goes into our mental health now.
Yes.
After visualizing that and seeing that it hurts us. Now we're low.
Yeah.
Now we're depressed. Now I'm not good enough. Now I gotta find a different way to take a picture or what's working, what's not. Like, we're getting lost in this trend of what should my social media look like to be liked more.
Yeah. And I think that the idea of filters, I think is harmful.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's harmful because there are people that
We call those
cannot.
catfishes.
I know people that cannot bring themselves to post a photo that is not filtered.
Filtered. Yeah.
They can't do it. Like it brings so much anxiety. It has to be fixed up, and they have to put this filter, and they have to
Yeah.
use this app. Like they cannot handle
Yeah.
posting something that is
Themselves.
just natural, and that's so sad.
It is.
To me, that's so sad because it even gets to the point where they get angry if somebody else posts a photo of them that they didn't fix or approve
Right, or
of,
approve of.
and is so violent. Why? Because there's this lack of self-esteem.
And we want to look our best no matter what through social media so we can get validated.
It's so harmful. I've seen people get literally upset with someone that
That's wild.
posted a photo of them where they don't look the best.
Yeah.
And I think that's just unacceptable. I just don't believe that social media, that's where we need to hang our hat as far as
Right.
our self-worth.
Which goes back to us, right? What we think, our thoughts. And you guys need to understand that everything that we talk about is going to go right back to our mind. And I see it now more in males. I really do. I feel like a lot of guys need constant shirts off and at the gym and the selfies, like, it used to be more of a girl thing, right? But now more men are actually doing it. They're a little more, I would say, more metro. They're a little more in tune with their sexuality, and which is fine. Don't get me wrong, but again, it is harming us men because we're trying to seek that validation through other things.
Yeah.
So
No, I love that. My turn.
okay, man.
So Louis tweets on January 27th. He says, fact, stop going to the gym for 2 hours. When you don't sleep enough, when you're not hydrated, when you DoorDash food at 10 p.m., are not eating enough, or are overeating almost every day. Hold yourself accountable to your shit and stop procrastinating change. So I thought that was very interesting because we feel like we're doing the right things,
Right.
but there's more than one thing. So you can feel like you killed it in the gym,
Right.
but then you ruin your progress.
Mm-hmm.
And I see this a lot when somebody has a really hard workout. They're like, oh man, I'm going to have that cheesecake because I earned it.
Yeah.
And it's like you just canceled out
Everything you just did.
everything you just did. You would have been better off probably staying home
Yeah.
from a calorie equation. For
Mhm.
example, if you go to the gym and you burn 300 calories
Right.
and then you go home and you eat an 800 calorie slice of cake or cheesecake or
Right.
something, you did more damage than you would have done if you would have just stayed home and not ate the cheesecake,
100%.
right? But it's this idea of if I do a little bit of good, then I deserve
More.
these rewards, but the rewards undermine the action that you're trying to do in the first place.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit about that. Was that triggered by something specific?
Yeah, it was actually an online consultation with a client. We're trying to figure out what was going on, and again, they were doing too much, 2 or 3 hours at the gym, and actually not giving anything back to themselves. Which goes back to a lot of you guys don't realize that part of health and fitness is actually more than just going to the gym, right? And if you guys break it down with how can I be more healthy, health involves sleep, right? Hydration, water, macronutrients, following a meal plan, cardio. And those are really, really basic things that I teach. Figure those out first. But some of you, like I did on the actual tweet, you're doing way too much at the gym, thinking that doing that is going to speed up your progress when it's not.
Mhm.
And then you're at night, I'm missing 300 more calories. I'm on DoorDash, whatever. Which I don't teach that, but I see a lot of people do that.
Happens.
And it does happen a lot. But for me, it's simplifying the fact that you can get a lot more healthy, habitable changes by following simple terms, which I break it down for people. I tell them all the time. People make dieting super hard, and they're backtracking and they're not seeing results because they're not doing the simple things.
Yeah.
Water, sleep, train, cardio, and eat. Like, that is the most basic thing I teach. And then it takes time for you to learn all those steps. But for me, it was a factor of a lot of people do so much more and they backtrack and they're not doing the actual small things to make up for, their success in the gym. And ideally, you guys, if you guys are going through a physical change, right? Me and Tony call it mental change, physical, emotional change. And the physical aspect of it is it comes down to simplifying what you are doing, and obviously hiring a professional, hiring a coach, read about body, what the body actually can do. And don't go to the gym for 2 hours and go get a cheeseburger. I'm missing macros. I'm missing food. Well, guess what? You just fucked up your whole workout by eating one thing off menu. Or you eat the exact same thing every single day for 6 months. Different. But we can't do that.
But it can get very discouraging for people that get into that loop.
Yeah.
Because it's a vicious cycle where it's like, man, I keep working out. I'm working hard.
Yeah.
Like, these workouts suck. I'm sore. Why isn't anything changing? And in many cases, it's just because the actual work in the gym is just one piece of the puzzle.
The
There are
gym
all
is
these
literally
other
10% of what you do.
So if somebody says, oh, I'm going to go to the gym every day at 5 a.m. for 2 hours, but because they're getting up so early, they're only sleeping 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I would, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, I might say to that person, hey, sleep your 7 hours, try to get your 7 hours in, and then go to the gym for 30 minutes hard.
Yeah.
But
And eat the rest of your meals
of
like you
course.
should.
So it's not all about just killing yourself in the gym.
Yeah.
There is a time and place for that. You know, if you're really trying to put on muscle or whatever, it has to be intense.
Yeah.
But there's so much more behind it
Yeah.
that you can't just isolate, oh, I'm just bench pressing all day
Yeah.
and then going home and doing whatever.
Well, you also got to think most people that come in my office, they're going to the gym every day.
And they're not seeing results.
They're not seeing results.
That's the interesting
6
part.
months, a year, whatever. And they find me, and then in 3 months, they're down 10 pounds of fat or whatever. Why? 90% nutrition, 10% gym, and the other factors that come in to an actual weight loss or fat loss phase, or even on a gaining phase. And people don't realize that it's what you do outside of the gym that makes up the whole factor of your transformation.
Yeah, I love that. Your
Cool.
turn.
Cool. Alrighty. It's quite amazing how far someone can go when they have someone who genuinely believes they can win. That was December 23rd of last year. Now, I love this because I'm a coach myself.
Mm.
And when I was competing, my coach believed in me 100% that I could do anything, reach a certain goal, a certain physique, right? And even in college and even in high school when I played sports, my coach believed in all of us.
Mm.
And I connected that to how I was raised and how my dad taught me and everything that I've gone through to that, because I truly believe some people and coaches believe more, how do I say it? They believe in you more than you believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that that's what a good coach does.
Right.
Now, a little bit of context on that. So I got into real estate in 2012. So real quick background story.
Right.
I was with the same agency for about 8 years. And my mentor, Daniel, I looked up to this man like crazy. Like he was the person that I wanted to be. He was like just the guy, right?
Right.
He unceremoniously just fired me one day out of nowhere.
Really?
I went in, normal meeting. He had 2 pieces of paper on the desk face down. And it was my termination letter and this other contract that he needed me to sign.
That's wild.
And so from that point, that was September 2021. So from that point until recently, I'd been doing real estate basically on my own, but with this, and I was actually talking to my wife about this,
Right.
with this anger or this feeling of needing to kind of show him that I could do this on my own, that I didn't need him. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I've had other connections and relationships with people inside of real estate, but I had a conversation with someone who we were discussing some kind of partnership. And he said to me something that really kind of hit me. And he said, dude, he said to me, I don't think you realize how good you are at this. I don't think you realize yet how much of a beast you are for this game. I see it, and I want to go on this journey with you so that whoever kicked you to the curb understands
What you lost.
Exactly. And so when
That's
he said
wild.
that, it was like, I was sitting in the car and I was texting my wife and I was like, damn, the feeling of there's someone in the room that believes in you. There's someone in the room
Sees
that
your values,
Exactly.
sees your
and
that
it's
you're
such a
enough.
conflicting thing because we just talked about not needing external validation from social media. But when you're in a professional setting where, in my case, I did real estate for a year all alone, trying to grind and hustle to try to prove somebody wrong.
Right.
When you are in a place where now you're in a community of like-minded individuals,
Right.
and somebody looks at you and says, I know, that changes everything. At least for me, that really changed everything. And I'm sure that you see similar situations here when people come down with like low self-esteem, or maybe they've tried it before, they're just kind of down. And when they feel that you see them not for what they are, but for what they could be, that is
It's a
such
game
a
changer.
driving force.
It's a game changer.
Yes.
And funny story, 2014, 2015, I remember, I was in the office with Mike Manfrey, my mentor, and he said, Lou, you are so much better than me. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, you can be so much better than me. Now, granted, he was already making good income. He was consulting. We had our own office in West Jordan back in the day. And he even, when I was shadowing him, he said, "You can be so much better than me because you are made for this. You talk better than me. You are friendlier than me. And there's so many, has so many traits that I couldn't see for myself."
That's the key.
And he actually like elevated that process for me. I was like, whoa, like he sees that. Like this guy's killing it.
Yeah.
And I was wanting to be like him and grow. And I remember that to this day. He said that to me.
Yeah.
And I will never forget it. And it made me feel so good that he saw my potential. And now it's been,
And I think
10 years.
that is the key to leadership.
Yeah.
Because you and I were in a similar position where there's this person that we look up to,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
The person that we look up to, your case, Mike, my case, Daniel, they see that you look up to them.
Right.
They have a decision to make. There's only two routes. They can either do what Mike did, which is lift you up because they know that you look up to them, or what Daniel did, which is cut your legs off.
Yeah.
To like, you have to maintain the status quo.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
So I think that's a critical point of leadership is,
Right.
do you feel comfortable lifting the people that look up to you, or do you feel the need to maintain the status quo so that
Because
they
you're the
continue
leader.
to look up?
Yeah.
They need to stay down here so that I stay up here and I maintain that upward
But see,
projection.
that's different. That's a boss, not
Yeah.
a leader.
Right.
And I don't know where I found this, but it's an actual picture of, I think it's again Egyptian hieroglyphic or something like that. And it says boss or leader.
yes.
Remember that one?
Yep.
So the boss has
Whipping.
a whip and it's whipping his people, but the leader is actually helping his people. Now, some people have left me in my business, right? But if you know me and you know how I work and what I do, and you've seen it, all of my people, I want them to grow. I want them to succeed. Now, I'm working 70, 80 hours along my people every single day. I'm not sitting at home. I am not sitting on my couch or reading or emailing. I am actually working. Why do I do that? Because I'm going to show you that by working every day, seeing 15, 10 people a day, you can make and change lives by being right next to me, and I love my job. I really do. But I wouldn't be where I am now if my people didn't believe in me, and also Cass as well. But I think the biggest thing is pushing others to see their full potential and have you grow with them.
Even when they don't see it.
They don't see it.
Right. Love that.
Cool.
My turn. All right. This one is December 21st, 2022. You said, if something does not align with who you are, don't force it. You do not have to fight yourself in order to create peace. That is a state of war. You can walk away. You can let things go. And in fact, if it does not align at this moment, you should allow it to go. So here, kind of playing devil's advocate,
Right.
where I would push back is say, okay, when you are trying to change, when you're trying to do something different, don't you have to force it? Isn't it going to be out of alignment with you because it's new?
Right.
So you should, instead of walk away, you should try to force it. If you're trying to build a new habit, if you're trying to do something different, it's not going to align right away.
Right.
Maybe having that new meal plan is not going to align right away. Like, you've never eaten that way. Like, this, I don't like this, dude. Like,
Right.
I don't like just eating egg whites in the morning.
Right.
But to some level, do you feel like you have to force it? Or just give me a little bit of context as to what you were meaning when you tweeted this.
This is in the morning, so I'm trying to figure out when that was. It was deep. I put it in caps. But I think it came more of a relationship post.
Okay, I see.
And if you think about it from that perspective, it makes more sense.
Like, it shouldn't be that hard. You shouldn't have to force a relationship.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So a lot of people, and I see a lot of people that are going through divorces and changes at home. Right. I see a lot of people that have gone through abuse and they're still stuck in it. Right. And I learned alignment from my therapist. Actually, when you're aligned with your values and goals and morals, everything seems to be very linear, right? You're in the right track. But with this, and I wanted to go in a little bit deeper, is a lot of people they stay in a relationship that doesn't really make them happy. They're there because they're comfortable in it, right? After certain years, kids, family, and sometimes I think we mask ourselves and we are afraid to walk away, and walking away can be in different aspects, I believe. But it's okay to be able for you to let go. And I have a lot of people that are younger, right? So they're in that dating scene, they're getting their hearts broken. And now that I remember, it was actually a conversation that I had with a client before. They were going through a small breakup, and I said, "Listen, his name is Andy. Andy, I remember the conversation, and I actually said, you get to a point where you're either in it or you have to be okay enough to let it go because it's actually not beneficial for you." And he actually ended up, moving forward on himself because he was prepping. And I said, listen, you have a lot going on for you right now. Let it go because you're going to find someone that's going to fit you better and fit you perfectly. And right now, it's not the time for you to put energy towards this person. Put it with you. So that's what it was.
Yeah, you're right. It does make more sense from a relationship perspective.
Right.
I would just simply caution for us to be careful when you go out, if you're in the dating scene, trying to find somebody that matches you perfectly.
Yeah, there's no way. That will never happen.
It will never happen. So nobody is going to align with you 1,000%. And if you can recognize that you're looking for that perfect individual, so are they.
Yeah.
Right. So it can't just be, you need to fit me. It's, if there's a connection here, how can we fit each other? Right. If there's good chemistry or attraction or whatever the case may be, there's good features to this person, right? Character features, character traits.
Yeah.
I like this individual.
100%.
Always remember the other side of the equation, where it's not just, do you fit me? It's, can I fit you?
And one of the biggest things that I tell people is make sure that your partner adds value to you and you add a value to them. And it's really hard to understand that. And we're going to reel this out because find someone that adds value to you and they add value back to you, right? And you add value to them. And what I mean by that is, you know who you are at your core. You know who you are, what you like, your likes and dislikes, and everything of who you are. That person should be able to understand that and see that and add to you in the ways that you aren't good at, right? So example, me and Cass always talk about this is, I'm good at what she's not, and she's good at what I'm not good at, which is a balance.
Yeah.
And that's why we run a business together. This is why we have what we have, and it's worked because it's the alignment. We're aligned because I add to her, she adds to me, ideally.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But that's an interesting point, because if her strengths are your weaknesses, then if you see it from a point of view as it needs to be perfectly aligned, it doesn't, because she's so different, but she complements you.
Exactly.
But I just see it a lot in the younger dating scene.
Oh, 100%.
You walk around with this expectation and this mold of who you want your partner to be, but sometimes we fail to realize that everybody else also has their own mold and their own expectations and what they are looking for.
Yeah.
And it's hard and rare to find the match, but you can't go around the world just 100% thinking, I need to find someone who is good enough for me.
But also people forget that when they're on social media or through a picture or through DM, the individual is going to be completely different than when they are in person.
True.
And that's what worries me the most for the younger generation, because when we were growing up, we had to call on the phone. I remember calling the phone after 10 a.m. when you had minutes.
Yep.
And we didn't have social media. We had to talk and call on the phone. And I had the Nokia brick phone. I was texting. Like, that shit was fun. But now people see someone, they're attracted. Oh my gosh, she looks amazing, and her posts and what she wears. And then you get to meet them and it's completely different. And that's what I'm afraid of. And I tell all my clients the same thing. It's like, be able to communicate and get off your phone and be present and get to know someone for who they are, not for what they portray.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think just the punchline is, when you talk about alignment, alignment takes work.
Yeah.
Right. Me and my wife, we're still, you got to always work on being on the same page. It's not going to happen right away.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that to your post, yeah, it shouldn't be that hard. If you're having to constantly justify to yourself negative things that this person
Right.
does, or you always have to convince yourself, talk your way into it, then yeah, have the courage to walk away.
Okay.
All right, last one, brother. You're up.
Okay. Nice. Make this bigger. I can't see. The quality of your mental health can be greatly improved if you learn to tolerate / solve for more chaos in your life.
Yeah.
That was the 21st. It was late night. It was at 9 p.m.
I was deep.
It was the-
No,
Okay.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
Okay.
Because I feel like nowadays we can, if we're not careful, drown in little cups of water. Like
Ooh, I love that.
we
I love
get
that.
that was deep, right?
That was deep.
But we get so overwhelmed with things that could be solved relatively simply. What I mean by that is, if we have some sort of argument with our spouse or at
Right.
work, sometimes it's just one or two conversations away and you can solve the issue. But we get so overwhelmed with all these different things and we just allow things to get to us. So I think that to some level, it's not a bad thing to be emotional or to be sensitive, but you want to be careful, because if any little thing can throw you off, if any little thing can just get your mind into a negative space, then you're going to have a hard time, right? I think a good analogy for this is boxing. In my boxing class just yesterday, we were talking about being balanced and being steady. So
Right.
if you're in the ring, you need to have a good stance, good brace of your core, so that when you're receiving blows, you're not flimsy and falling back, getting off balance. Like, you want to be solid.
And that comes from training every
Comes from
single
training.
day and learning and repeatedly doing the exact same things over 1,000 times.
Yep. So in your life, it's the exact same way. Like, we need to find ways to be mentally solid.
Yeah.
So that not any little thing can just throw us off, ruin our day. We're freaking out. We're overly stressed. And you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just get to a place where you learn how to receive the chaos, receive the input, whatever happens. Sometimes you can't even control it.
Right, that's true. 'Cause
You
it's not coming
absorb
from-
it,
not coming
you
from
process it, and then you do something with it. But you don't allow it to just throw you off.
Yeah.
And now you're having a bad day, which turns into a bad week. And it's just this cascade.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy though? Like, that was us, like 24, 25,
Sure.
26. And now, being 33, you're 31?
31.
31. So, what's crazy, guys, and he said it perfectly. As time progresses, as life experiences happen, you will find more peace. And what I mean by that is, through life, you'll learn how to balance chaos. We do a million things a day. Let's be real. Like, I live on my freaking schedule and calendar. And I know how to process from morning to night everything that I go through. I couldn't do that when I was 24.
Sure.
I do that now because I've taken the time to understand myself, understand my feelings, my emotions. I process everything. Like, I honestly have like a little hamster wheel in my brain. I literally visualize a little hamster wheel when I'm thinking, and I process different situations, feelings, emotions, fights, anger. All of these actual feelings can be handled and balanced, but it takes time for you to get there. And I think through life experiences, that does seem to be more manageable.
Yeah. And I think it's just this concept of mental and emotional toughness.
Yeah.
Which can be misconstrued. I mean, toughness, I think, is something that we have misconstrued in the sense of being
Right.
tough means ignoring the problem, or it
Right.
means not talking about it. Being tough means you gotta just pretend it doesn't exist and you gotta just keep going. I don't think that's what toughness means. I
No.
think that toughness means that you can be in a chaotic environment, in a stressful
And
environment,
control it.
and still perform. Still solve, still think, still do what you need to do. It doesn't mean that if you're going to be tough, you're just going to be a tough guy and just
Yeah.
never talk about your feelings. No.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, that's what emotional toughness means, is
Yeah.
you can receive large amounts of chaos, more and more chaos, uncertainty,
And still
and
find a
still
way
function.
to be aligned.
Still function.
Yeah.
You
I
can
love
still
that.
function. It
love
won't
that.
throw you off of a cliff. And just like they say in business, you're paid to the proportion of the problem that you solve. Right? In the same way, our emotional health is proportional to the amount of chaos and solutions that we need to find and that
Right.
we can tolerate. The more you can tolerate, the higher that threshold is, the more you're going to be unaffected by smaller things.
Right.
And that will allow you to keep that mental stillness, stability, to be able to function even in highly chaotic situations.
I love that. And that's why I always think when I'm going through a certain time where it's more chaotic, and I tell myself, focus on the solution, not the problem. And I believe a lot of people focus on the problem so much, they get anxiety, they get angry, ego, sadness, they blow up, right? And how to continuously be in alignment is honestly like you said, being in control of all these emotions. And I think a lot of men have that problem. We either just lash out or we shut down. The difference: shut down, depressed, sadness, you cut yourself off and you're done, you don't talk. Or lash out, anger, you're yelling, right? That's how I see it. So again, you guys, you have to learn how to maintain this balance of chaotic life situations that we all have. We all have a job, family, kids, friends, family, the gym, food, so many things that we go through on a daily basis. But some of us have learned to actually manage from A to Z and make it consistently be balanced in our life. And for me, it was reading books, understanding situations and patterns, and understanding people. Because I used to take a lot of energy from my clients. I was younger, obviously, and I didn't realize that their energy of their household was giving me pain because I'm an empath. I want to be able to give love, but I was taking in all their bad energy.
Yeah.
So I learned how to cut that off because I cannot control other people's behaviors or home life. All I can do is listen, give advice, and move on.
Or you learn to adapt these coping mechanisms, right? Because you can't control the temperature. So a good example of this is just in real life with the weather.
Right.
If it gets really hot, you're going to do things differently. There's certain things that you're going to do if it's really hot. You're not going to
Right.
wear a jacket. You're going to turn on the AC. You're going to roll down the window. You're going to wear shorts instead of jeans. So your behavior changes based on the temperature.
Right.
If it's really, really cold, same thing. You're going to change things. You're going to do things differently. You're going to wear a big coat. You're going to wear the beanie. You're going to wear the gloves. You're going to.
Right.
So in the same way, sometimes we can't control the temperature. The only thing you can control is what you do with those temperature extremes. So from a mental perspective, it's the same thing. If you can adopt these coping mechanisms, because when you lash out or when you get depressed, it's because you feel that you can't anymore.
Yeah.
I can't take this. I can't handle this. And in the same way, from the weather, sometimes it's just really hot. So what are you
Yeah.
going to do differently? You can't just be the same. I can't just wear shorts and just a t-shirt when there's a blizzard outside.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I'm not going to be able to tolerate that kind of cold. So I need to
Yeah.
change the way I do things. My actions are going to be different
Right.
based on the temperature. So
Makes sense.
in the same way, that's kind of the way that I try to look at it.
Right.
Because when you establish these coping mechanisms, it allows you to handle more heat, handle extreme cold, right? Using that, you can be in that environment. You can stand outside in a blizzard if you're properly prepared.
Right.
But if you're not, you're going to freeze to death.
So can we make that into hot being angry, cold being sad?
Either
in a
way.
Because I like that. Because when I do any life coaching calls and I have clients, I always tell them, how can you find yourself in the middle of the chaos, right? How can you find yourself consistently being neutral? And Jay Shetty speaks on this perfectly and beautifully. But how to maintain balanced life and being neutral all the time, no matter what is going on around you.
Because that's what your body does.
Exactly.
Homeostasis. I mean, it's trying to maintain your body temperature at a certain temperature. It
But
needs
I'm
to
talking
remain
about
neutral
emotional,
from an emotional
mental
perspective.
standpoint.
Exactly.
Emotional standpoint, we lash out or we get sad, depressed, and shut down.
Right.
Right. So how can we make sure that we stay neutral consistently no matter what life throws at us?
And I think that is establishing those coping
Mm-hmm.
mechanisms so that
Because that's
what,
come over time.
yep,
I'm telling you guys, over time, as you get older, you will see life so much differently. Perspectives are differently, how you talk. And shout out to my dad. Well, my dad was a very hard person to deal with growing up. And, over the years, I mean, now he's in his 50s, almost 60s, and he's changed so much and he's learned to be balanced. And he's 50, 55. Like, there's no time frame for this.
but the sooner you can do it, the better, though.
Exactly. And that's what I told myself through my own self journey was I want to be able to handle these situations when I'm younger and say when I'm older. But that takes a lot of self work every single fucking day to make sure that you are handling your shit and you're handling your emotions and your triggers and everything we've talked about all these episodes to make sure that you are your best self.
Yep. And just understanding what do you respond to when you feel it getting hot, it's heating up.
Yeah.
Go for a walk, or what works for you.
Mhm.
I mean, reading a book or listening to music, or how do you bring yourself back
Back
down
down.
and maintain there when you're feeling really low? How do you
get
motivate
back up?
yourself? How do
Mhm.
do you need to have a conversation, again, going for a walk or taking a cold shower or going and playing basketball, like whatever it is, those are those activities that can help you kind of diffuse the tension.
Mhm.
But I think that the punchline is the more you can tolerate, the less breakdowns you're going to have.
Right.
And I think that, like you said, the sooner we can figure these things out, the
better.
more we're going to avoid situations where we might make bad decisions.
Yeah.
And sometimes those decisions have lifelong consequences
Right.
that we don't think about in the moment. But the more we can tolerate, the more heat we can take,
Yeah.
then the healthier we're going to be.
Yeah. I love that.
Cool.
Cool.
Anything else?
Oh, that was it.
Is it?
That was good.
Love it, guys. So this has been another episode of the Male Mind Podcast. Share it, pass it on, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have reels and clips coming out every single day on TikTok, on Instagram. Follow Louis, check him out, and we'll be back in a couple weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks. So again, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Check out the Mel Mind on Instagram, Spotify, also on YouTube. Follow my man Tony. He's doing a lot of great things for Utah and for the real estate. I'm really proud of him as a friend, also as a partner. We do a lot, and I think for us is being able to speak to you guys and making sure that you get to a point when you are in alignment. Today's topic was kind of an alignment, right? Be balanced and be better overall. And these steps in your life, you guys, they will take time. To be a better person and how you want to be, it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of self-work every single day. So find what works best for you to get you to where you want to be.
I love it. Till next
Cool.
time, guys.